In The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers constructs the narrative core through meticulously designed framing. The film adopts a narrow 1.19 to 1 aspect ratio, a nearly square frame that compresses horizontal space and makes the relationship between characters and environment more confined. This spatial limitation offers unique compositional possibilities. Each frame becomes a carefully constructed enclosure that traps both the characters and the audience within. Within this visual framework, the narrative function of composition is fully realized. It advances the plot, reveals inner psychology, and conveys the film's central themes. In the first half of the film, Eggers uses symmetrical, framed, and Fibonacci spiral compositions to visualize the abstract power dynamics, drawing viewers into Winslow's prison of authority and laying the groundwork for future conflict. In the arrival sequence, the symmetrical composition balances the two silhouettes on either side, yet Winslow carries less visual weight. The lighthouse stands at the central axis in high contrast, forming an imbalance within symmetry that hints at Winslow's passive position in the hierarchy. In the attic scene, the symmetrical setup evolves into a vertical split symmetry. A dark pillar divides the cramped space, amplifying the sense of pressure. Though balanced, the frame suggests underlying tension. Wake's transgressive act of urinating behind the pillar exposes class conflict between them. This also functions as a leading line composition, guiding the viewer's gaze to the center. The pillar is not merely a physical divider. It symbolizes the psychological barrier separating the two men from the very beginning. Framing evolves through edge-cutting techniques to visually express the stages of power control. During the cleaning of the cistern, a low-angle shot and a square frame enclose Winslow's labor within the rigid boundary of the pool. When repairing the roof, a close-up through a small peephole frames his eye within wooden slats. While shoveling coal, his upper body stays within the frame, his lower body cut off by the doorway, and each arm movement never crosses the boundary. These recurring enclosures become invisible chains, trapping Winslow not only in physical labor but within the invisible disciplinary cage of authority. When Winslow first explores the base of the lighthouse, Eggers uses a low-angle shot and spiral structure to present a Fibonacci spiral composition. The staircase narrows from the lower left toward the center, forming a vortex, slightly tilted by 5 degrees to break equilibrium. This spiral motion transforms the lighthouse into a passage between power and madness, foreshadowing Winslow's psychological descent and obsession with the forbidden light. In the middle section, low-angle shots and subjective perspectives materialize the struggle for power and Winslow's growing alienation, driving the conflict toward the surface. When he paints the lighthouse, the subjective low-angle view intensifies Wake's dominance, visualizing labor under surveillance. Later, as Winslow empties the chamber pot, the frame leaves only 10% headroom, visually manifesting oppression. Yet the low angle, typically a symbol of authority, becomes inverted. His act of survival turns into a small act of rebellion. The seagulls circling overhead represent his desire for freedom, contrasting with the oppressive composition, shifting his stance from passive obedience to active questioning. When Winslow examines the cistern, the camera takes his first-person point of view. His hands appear in the foreground, the square mouth of the well forms a frame, and the dead seagull floats at the center. This composition magnifies the symbol of death within his gaze, making the audience share his psychological shock. It marks a key moment of psychological alienation, where fear and obsession become visually explicit, foreshadowing his later curse on the seagulls and his descent into madness. In the climactic drunken sequence, Dutch angles and handheld cinematography distort the horizon line as the two men dance, shout, fight, and embrace. The camera's swaying movement breaks stability, embodying their psychological collapse and the disintegration of rational order. Interlocked two shots blur physical boundaries, symbolizing the fusion of domination and dependency. Combined with low-key lighting and upward illumination, the flickering oil lamp creates grotesque shadows on their faces. Together, these elements build an atmosphere of suffocating intensity, visualizing insanity, isolation, and human decay through composition itself. In the final lighthouse scene, symmetrical framing reappears but becomes visually unstable. Metallic grills create a perfect frame, yet Winslow's body tilts 10% off-center, and the rotating beacon adds kinetic imbalance. This reversal from earlier symmetry dismantles the symbolic order of authority and truth. The spiral beam and unstable composition close the visual loop from the order of power to the chaos of madness, illustrating how rationality is consumed by delusion. Ultimately, The Lighthouse takes composition as its core narrative tool. From the construction of power to psychological conflict, and finally to spiritual collapse, each compositional design precisely serves the film's narrative and thematic purposes. These meticulously arranged frames not only define the film's unique visual style but also make the complexity of human nature and the destructiveness of desire visually tangible, turning composition itself into an indispensable part of storytelling.